Who knew that tariff equality was going to make everyone in the world angry at America? But maybe that's the point. This week, Trump dropped massive reciprocal tariffs, 54% on China, 24% on Japan, 20% on the EU, and everyone else got at least 10%. Canada's furious. China's threatening retaliation. The EU says America's isolating itself. And Trudeau, he said, we will never be the 51st state. That's how personal it's getting. But here's the truth no one is saying. For decades, America has been on the losing end of global trade. We've been out-tariffed, undercut, and sold out by leaders who care more about the global approval than American jobs, and you can see it already. Now that MAGA is flipping the script, the world is calling it a crisis. I haven't seen so many crybabies. These tariffs aren't about isolation. They're about respect. If you tax our goods, we tax yours. It's not revenge. It's balance. And while global elites cry injustice, working class Americans are finally seeing policies that put them first. Jobs protected, manufacturing returning, leverage restored. Look, of course the world is upset when you've been winning off someone else's weakness. You don't like when they get strong again. So yeah, it's America versus the world right now. But if you're on board with getting America back on track, make sure to follow for more, because this isn't about making friends. It's about making things fair again.
I just love how you Democrats all of a sudden are experts on the economy. All of a sudden now that Daddy Trump put on some tariffs and y'all are like, oh no, everything's going to be more expensive. No, we're going to be making more money and winning, and y'all are just mad you lost. How are you still defending this man? Daddy Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He wrote the art of the deal. He had a ghostwriter do it. There you are with your woo-woo witchy leftist believing in ghosts. We don't do that here in America anymore, babes. Oh my God. That's right. Everyone is going to get tariffs. Everyone's going to pay to earn our business. How do you not understand that we're going to be the ones that pay the higher price, not them? You really need to do yourself a favor and do your own research. Literally, what research have you done? I'm on YouTube. I'm on Reddit. I'm doing all sorts of research you don't even know. No, literally, I think you don't know. Do you know that he didn't put tariffs on Russia? Why would he put tariffs on Russia? That's where his wife is from. So it's like, why you wouldn't do that to family? Oh my God, you're serious. I'm as serious as Daddy Trump's McDonald's order. Get it right, you know?
As the economy continues to crash tomorrow, remember all the podcasters and all the influencers who, instead of asking Donald Trump substantive questions about his policies, decided to coddle his fucking ballsack instead and lie to the American people about voting in a fucking lunatic, a dementia patient, into the highest office in the land, and destroy the economy with tariffs. As you're staring at your 401k tomorrow and you see businesses close and you see supply chains shrink up and you see people fucking waiting in food lines and food basket lines because of Donald Trump's tariffs, remember the people, remember those influencers, because they will try to fucking lie their way out of this and say that they didn't vote for this, they didn't do this shit. Remember them, because they are fucking liars. Remember the Andrew Schultzes, the Ben Shapiros, the Joe Rogans, the Dave Ramseys, who should fucking know better. Remember those people.
Now that the economy has taken a hit from Trump's tariffs, you've likely seen many people, including Trump himself, saying that this was his grand plan all along and that he wants to tank the economy in order to bring down interest rates. And if you want to know what this means and why it probably isn't going to work out for them, and when people say this is his plan that really doesn't make any sense, follow along, I'll explain. So first and foremost, what even are federal interest rates? They're set by the Federal Reserve in order to influence the economy, because the Federal Reserve's job is to make sure the economy is always stable. And what this means in practice is that if we're in a recession, they lower interest rates to promote buying, because if interest rates are low, you might go out and buy a new car or buy another big purchase. Versus if the economy is overheating, they're going to increase interest rates to slow down buying, because that will ultimately bring down prices. If you're not buying a car, your neighbor's not buying a car, the cost of a car is going to come down. Now, how does the Federal Reserve determine these rates? I'm going to search, how does the Federal Reserve determine interest rates? And I'm going to look at the Federal Reserve one. And we see this. They have a dual mandate on how they set interest rates in order to promote maximum employment and stable prices. So that means that the two things they look at when determining interest rates are unemployment rates and inflation. And this is what that looks like in practice. If inflation is high, then interest rates go high. If unemployment is high, then interest rates go low. So now let's look at this over time and see why it does not make sense for the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates right now, which is what Trump is asking them to do and what every one of his fans are saying is his master plan. Remember, they set the interest rate based on inflation and unemployment. So first, let's look at inflation. An easy way to look at that is the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index. So we're going to search U.S. inflation over time, and we're going to look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Consumer Price Index. And when we get here, we're going to scroll down, and we can see the Consumer Price Index, or what inflation has looked like over time. We're going to scroll to about the start of Trump's first term, and this is what inflation has looked like over time. And here's what we see. We see inflation was going up a little bit, then went down in 2020 for obvious reasons, went really, really high after 2020 for obvious reasons, and has since been coming back down. Now let's look at that second indicator, U.S. employment over time. And same thing, we're going to go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And same thing, we're going to scroll, and then we're going to go over to about when Trump's first term started, and we're going to look at this change. And we see the same thing, going down, obviously spikes in 2020, and then has since been coming back down. So now let's see how that compares to the federal interest rate over time and if it matches. So U.S. federal interest rate over time, I'm going to click this one. That brings us here. I'm going to select 10 years to bring us about to the start of Trump's first term. And then this is the rate that we see, which looks like this. It was going up, it dropped in 2020 for obvious reasons, spiked after 2020 for obvious reasons, and then has since leveled out and started to come back down. And if you're starting to think that this trend is looking familiar, you're correct. Because here are those three charts side by side. Here's inflation, dips, goes up. Here's the interest rate, dips, goes up. And then here's unemployment, which remember should be the inverse, so it goes up and then back down. And so the point of me showing you this is to show you that this interest rate is set on the two things that they say it's set on, which is inflation and unemployment. But of course, I've seen this film before. Trump is saying that it's all just playing politics and that the chair of the Federal Reserve is just playing politics against him and that he should be lowering the rates because Trump's economy is doing great. But what is the one thing we know about Trump's economy right now? He has just implemented tariffs. And what do tariffs do? They bring up costs. And what did we just learn about when costs are high? The interest rate stays high, because the way to bring down costs is to make it harder for you to purchase big things, so then the costs of those big things comes down. The one thing about the Fed is that they are not a let's just try it out and see how it goes type of agency. They are a wait and see kind of agency. So they are going to continue to wait to see what the effect of these tariffs are before they bring down any kind of interest rates for US consumers. So when people are saying tariffs are going to lead to rate cuts, that doesn't really line up with the reality of how interest rates have worked to stabilize the U.S. economy in the past.
Trump is not playing chess or checkers. He doesn't even know how to probably play chess. If you told him what moves can the pawn make or the rook, he doesn't fucking know. He's too stupid to play chess. He's too stupid to probably play checkers too. No, what he's doing is he's improvising. Because he said that he was going to do some things, and now he has to do them. He's doing them, but it backfired. In his stupid mind, he maybe thought it was gonna work, because stupid people, when dumb people do crazy, they actually think it's gonna work. That's the problem. A lot of these yahoos, in their brain, they process it. I had a friend one time, we were playing basketball, and he lost his keys because he left his keys on top of my car, like on the hood. And when we went back home, he's like, oh, it probably got lost in the way. Let's go back. We'll put another set of keys in the trunk as well, like in the hood, and we'll drive back. And wherever those keys fall, that's where the other keys will be at. You just have to drive the same way. It was the stupidest idea on the planet. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to indulge on this stupidity Sunday, and I have nothing else to do. And of course, the keys dropped, and the other pair of keys were nowhere to be found. But in his brain, I know that he believed that he was like, oh yeah, this is going to work. And that's what Trump is doing. But the problem is that now it's backfired, and all these tariffs are not going to solve anything. If anything, it's making things worse. But how the is he going to back up from that? He's going to look like the giant idiot that he is. And he doesn't want that. So what do? We push forward, making things even worse. But he's not playing chess. The man doesn't know strategy. He has none. He's just improvising. Like he has done for the past 20 years with every business that he's ever had. He's a con artist and a liar. And that's why he ends up in court every single time. And that's why he has to pay millions of dollars from lawsuits for racial discrimination, for mismanagement of funds, for lack of payment on a bunch of loans that he's taken. The dude is like wildly inefficient. But somehow these idiots think that he's going to be the next coming of Jesus and he's going to turn like water into cab.
Ain't it funny how the people who couldn't pay back their student loans or simply define what a man or woman were are suddenly experts on the economy, the stock market, and tariffs. Liberals are losing their mind over this tariff turbulence and the drop in the stock market. These Democrats claim they're for the common man, but over 90% of all stocks are owned by just 7% of the wealthiest Americans. So when that stock market dips, it's them rich wallets that feel it, not the real working man or woman. Look, I could care less if Nancy Pelosi's portfolio takes a dip. And remember, Cupcake, it's not a profit or loss until you sell. Those ain't real numbers in your account until you try to cash out. It ain't real until you hit that sell button. And these liberals have such a short memory, they either forget or ignore all those drastic market swings under Biden's leadership. Go back and look. There were radical plunges in the stock market during his policies, or lack thereof. Yet these liberals didn't question Joe's leadership, even when he couldn't put a coherent sentence together. And by the way, the stock market ain't the economy. President Trump is about policies that uplift the average American, not just suits on Wall Street. So let's just focus on the bigger picture and not get lost in this stock market soap opera. Tariffs can hurt the rich, but will help the majority of Americans, not just the elite. Tariffs are good for the American worker and the common man and woman. President Trump using tariffs to bring jobs back, real jobs, factory jobs, middle-class jobs, the kind where a man or woman can afford to raise a family and take pride in their work. The facts are these reciprocal tariffs are already bringing jobs back to America. Just look at the record number of announcements of new manufacturing plants, the record number of investments, billions of dollars in rebuilding America and American jobs that have already been announced. If you're like me, we care about policies that help the working class, not just the wealthiest 7% to get wealthier. And these tariffs, they will do just that. Even if you hate Trump, common sense ought to tell you bringing real jobs and manufacturing back to America is a win. Standing up to those countries that have taken advantage of us for decades, that's just the right thing to do. These are reciprocal tariffs. They have already been charging us for years on our goods, but yet we're not allowed to do that in return. But some of you folks are so blinded by your hate for Trump. That Trump derangement syndrome, it's real. They would rather see our economy crash than admit the man's doing something right. That ain't just petty. That's downright un-American. You don't have to love the man, but you ought to love this country enough to want to see it strong again. And bringing back jobs, real jobs, manufacturing jobs, that's a good thing. Now, if you don't like this, feel free to block me, you soy latte drinking, electric car promoting. Oh, wait, that's right. Y'all don't like them EVs anymore, now do you? You see, that's part of the problem the left has. Their dim-witted hypocrisy on issues. So if you don't like this, just block me. I'll be fine without your mutton-headed comments. But if you're like me and tired of the liberal lies and you're ready to rebuild America with some common sense, then how about giving me a share, a like, a follow? I would love to see your comments. Yeah, I support Trump and his tariffs, even if it's going to hurt for a little bit.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.